We have a new CBSN special to tell you about. It focuses on American manufacturing, starting with the city of Erie, Pennsylvania. People there saw years of plant closures and layoffs.
Now, this past November, lifelong Democrats voted for change in the form of President Donald Trump. Our Jamie Yuccas recently went to Erie to hear from them, and here's a preview of what she found.
I was permanently laid off March of last year.
Okay, so you're gonna get a bowl or a burrito?
I don't know, I've never been here.
Todd is divorced and his daughter lives across town with her mom. For father and daughter, volleyball and dinner is their special time together.
I got the corn sauce, that's good.
I've watched myself, as well as friends, lose jobs all over the town. You have all these people that made, $30, $40 plus an hour, and they're having to apply for these jobs. They're like $8, $10, $12 an hour. It's one of the most stressful times in your life. Or back in the 90s, I could leave one job at 7 a.m. and have another job by 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning, literally. It's not like that anymore.
I know, this year went really fast. Like, really fast.
And then you'll have your permit this summer.
Yeah.
That'll be crazy.
Yeah, I'll be the baby driver of the school.
It's okay. Told her for like a year I'm going to lose my job. So it kind of turned into the joke was like, you losing your job today? Did you lose your job yet?
Jamie Yuccas joins us now with more on what you found. Jamie, the economy and the changing manufacturing structure was such a big aspect of the election that we reported on and talked about so much, but there's no replacement for going to these places, speaking with people and spending time with them. What was most eye-opening for you?
Well, I think for me, you hear about the numbers, and we talked about the Rust Belt cities who had voted for Donald Trump, and kind of what does that mean, right? So when we went to Erie, Pennsylvania, what I found really interesting is that you heard Todd talk about he had a job that paid $30 to $40 an hour. Sometimes he would lose his job, be able to go across town, get another manufacturing job for $30 or $40 an hour. When you look at that, that's $60,000 or $70,000 a year to a family in Erie, Pennsylvania, when you factor in overtime and some of the other hours that they would put in. That meant that they could buy a house, they would pay cash for their car, they would go out to dinner. You see him at, a Moe's Mexican grill that he talked about, and we had other families talk to us about how they used to go out and have steak dinners. Now, working for $8, $9 an hour and not knowing if those $8 or $9 an hour jobs are going to be there anymore, you think about the shift within the family, just the stress that this town, it's family after family after family. Mm-hmm. You can almost feel the weight when you walk around the town and you see these boarded up buildings and the manufacturing plants that have just left because there's nothing to make there anymore. And you talk to these families where their lifestyle has just really changed, or they've had to move away. And this is a generational town where maybe great-grandpa, grandpa, dad, everybody worked for the same manufacturing plant. In this case, in Erie, Pennsylvania, nearly everyone has some tie to GE Transportation, which made locomotives and trains. And so for generations, everybody worked at the GE plant. Everybody was middle class. Everybody had a lifestyle that they were proud of. And now they don't have that. And it's stressful and it's hard, and they've watched it for decades, really, the jobs going away and automation moving in. Even if the manufacturing plants are there, some of the same jobs aren't there anymore. And so you've just really changed the whole town. So the people who are left are desperate for something to come in and change what they have now, which is a very stressful situation.
Which sort of leads right into this past election. Mm-hmm. I would think that these people would have been typically voters for the Democratic Party, probably union people, and went that way. They didn't this time around.
There were so many people who either told me, I voted Democratic my entire life, and these are people who are in their 70s and 80s who then flipped and went for Donald Trump. There are people who had never voted in an election before who came out and voted for Donald Trump. And a couple different factors we found when we were there happened is that, there were a number of people who said, we can't continue on the path that we're on. In the last 8 years, they felt that the Democrats and President Obama had really left them behind, that they had been forgotten, nothing had changed, they had been promised hope and change, and nothing in their town did change except for the fact that maybe more job losses had occurred.
It sounds like it got worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were looking for anything to come in and fix this. The second thing that happened along those lines is that they heard Hillary Clinton talk about that she wanted to continue the policies of President Obama. That to them was like, no way, because we can't handle this anymore. They did, a number of voters we talked to said if Bernie Sanders had been in, it may have been a tougher decision for me because he had touted difference and change. The other thing that really bothered them is Hillary Clinton never went to their town. Donald Trump visited, and he promised bringing back jobs. He talked about making America great again, and some of those statements resonated with these people who are desperate for something to happen.
Do you get a sense of how much time they'll give President Trump to deliver on these big, overreaching promises?
Right.
So it's
you
interesting.
say they're desperate.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, what we heard over and over again is we know it's not going to happen overnight. This has been decades of decline. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. We don't think he's all of a sudden going to come in and, you know, fix everything right away. But it's kind of split. You see half the people say, well, he came in and he put this executive order in and he's making policy changes already, so jobs will be the next thing. You know, he'll lay out his plan and that's coming. And then the other 50% you hear say, I wish it was happening sooner. I wish that jobs had been the number one thing. I don't know that I really like him talking about this travel ban. I don't know that I really like some of the language he's used in some of these other places. I really wish he would focus on the economy and some of the promises that he made there. So we are going to revisit and see, you know, over the next year kind of how, if there's any opinions that change. You know, but within this first really, you know, month and a half of him being in office, there's still that hope, especially with him speaking in front of the nation tomorrow night, that maybe he will lay out a plan that will include places like Erie.
That's really interesting. What's happening there is happening in small towns all across the country,
country,
right? Looking forward to it, Jamie Yuccas. Thank you
Definitely.
very much.
Thanks, Jamie.